I'm Josh Gonzalez, and welcome to Meld. It's a podcast where I have in-depth conversations with some of the brightest people in the known universe. My aim is to spark deep conversations around interesting topics, to find the tools, tactics, and philosophies that we can all use in our daily and creative lives. This episode is with Zachary Murray. He's a good friend of mine and an extremely talented multidisciplinary designer and serial entrepreneur. This guy's doing a lot of different things. Zach is the founder and creative director at Foreplay, which is a Toronto performance marketing and creative agency that helps e-commerce and direct-to-consumer brands scale. And Foreplay has their own internal ventures, including Nomadic Fabrics, which he scaled to over 7 figures in just the first year. Zach is also the founder and creative director of Vanquished Media, which is a digital media agency that has been focusing largely on creating animated explainer videos for clients. Zach is always doing something new and exciting, and it's one of the main reasons I wanted to have him on the podcast. This is a wide-ranging conversation on so many different topics, but we do try to stay within the central themes of design and business and basically how these two things intersect. But to get a better sense of all the different things we talk about, or if you're looking for links to some of the things that we talk about or mention in this episode, go check out the show notes for this episode. You can find the link to the show notes in the description of this podcast if you're listening on one of the podcasting platforms like Spotify, Apple, Google, etc. Or you can go directly to my website at joshgonsalves.com/podcast. That's joshgonsalves.com/podcast. I should also add that since this conversation was over 2 hours long, I purposely split this up into 2 parts just so it's easier to digest. So this is just part 1 of 2. You'll be able to find part 2 once it's published, again at the link in the description, or go directly at joshgonsalves.com/podcast for part 2 when it's up. And if you haven't already, you can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or any other podcasting app of your choice that supports subscriptions. It's completely free, and you'll get notified as soon as part 2 is up. And I'm going to be clickbaity here and say that part 2 is amazing. There's a lot of stuff that we covered in part 2 that gets extremely deep. I always find that the second half of episodes get a little bit deeper, because I find that the first hour we cover all the shallow topics, and then we start to get really deep in the second part. So I purposely put this into 2 parts. So part 1 is, you're going to learn a lot about Zach, what he's doing. Part 2, we get pretty deep. We get pretty existential. So if you really want to get deep, that'll be in part 2. Let's get right into it. I'm Josh Gonzalez, and this is Meld Part 1 with Zachary Murray. That's good, man. It's been a while. Like, I swear to God, the last time we chatted was like way before you ran like 11 fucking marathons.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like saying it like that is like, it's definitely the most impressive way to say it. But yeah, I mean, it was like 30 days, but yeah, it was cool, man. That was actually like, it almost like made summer worth it. Cause like this summer I haven't really done much in terms of like activities and stuff. And I'm not really one to just like sit around and do nothing. And it really like, it was like a slow month in like a good way. Like it was the longest month probably of the year. So yeah. And like in like the best way possible. So yeah, overall, like that was, I was stoked on that.
Would you do it again?
Oh, I would never do it again. Like I would, the only thing I could think I would do is like the actual, so like it's like a challenge made up by like Jesse Itzler. I don't know if you know who that is, but so essentially he does it in miles, but it's 1 kilometer for every day of the week. Or sorry, every day of the month. So on day 1, you run 1 kilometer or mile, and on day 30, you run 30 kilometers miles, and it's compounding over the month. So yeah, it ends up on a 30-day month, ends up being 465 of, for me, it was kilometers. The only thing I would do is I would do the legit challenge in miles.
Damn.
But with that, you're running like 4 or 5 back-to-back marathons day after day. So I think that's I think from a mental perspective, it's the same thing, but I think like the physical pounding level would just be, it'd be significantly more than what I did, which was, I think mine was, it was a physical challenge, but you could still rely on like your mental abilities a lot. Whereas I feel like the mild challenge where you're doing like full marathons, like I think your body's breaking down a lot faster, obviously.
I'm glad that you're fine after that. I'm sure you took a lot of time to like ice your legs and just like chill after.
Yeah, I mean, it was like after the whole thing, I pretty much like took a week off of doing like anything active. It wasn't because like I was like sore that much. It was just like I felt like just kind of done. And there was like a lot of like random things that I didn't really have time to do when I was doing it, like just like watch YouTube videos and stuff. So I took like a week, and like the free time I was spending running, I just kind of like caught up and watch some videos I wanted to watch and stuff like that.
Well, it's good you could do that, like rest your legs and shit. I'm sure you like consume something. Like did you just have music, podcasts? What were you consuming?
Yeah, it was a mixture of a bunch of things. Like I think near the beginning it was a lot of music and podcasts and books. But then I find that when runs get really, really long, if you're listening to music and books and podcasts, it honestly just gets annoying. Like you're just over it, you know? And I feel like if you can get to the point where you're just happy with just the silence, like, because I think, I don't know, sometimes there can be, to get to like a point where you're running really, really well, there's like an internal dialogue that's like going. And if you have something like a podcast or music, like that's an escape, but it's definitely, it's blocking that internal dialogue, and you're not, you're never going to get to that like area of just like pure bliss where you're just totally okay with everything. And so I think, medium to shorter runs, music and podcasts can be like a really good escape to not think about the breathing and not think about how much it's hurting. But it's not like you can't just lean on that for like 3 hours. And I actually learned that the first time I did like my first marathon. It was like I thought I was just going to listen to music the whole time, and I probably listened to music like less than an hour out of like the 4.5 hours, just because I realized that it's just annoying. Like it's just like having an extra person in the room kind of thing. We don't need these guys.
Yeah, exactly. Let's just do our thing. Let's just like zone out, run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. So what else is new? What else have you done over the last little while? It's kind of hard because obviously like quarantine shit, but like things have been opened up. Have you been going out and stuff?
Yeah. Like, I mean, there's still not that much stuff to do around here. Like I went out to restaurants, which like felt cool in the beginning, but I've lost like my desire to go out to restaurants as much as I used to have, which I don't think is a bad thing. Like, so yeah, I'm like, in terms of like eating out, like I'm still kind of like eating out versus cooking the same amount I was during like quarantine. So, which I think is good. And then, in terms of like activities, honestly, I haven't been doing much, been working a good amount.
What are you working on nowadays?
I mean, I'm doing like a lot of like catch-up administrative type stuff for Nomadic. We're pretty much just doing administrative catch-up type stuff right now. Same with like Vanquish is doing that. And then, I mean, we're doing like a lot of animated videos. I'm not really doing them anymore, but I'm kind of still managing those projects. But we had a couple clients just like snap and do like 5 or 6 videos at one time. So
damn, yeah, that's just like feast or famine, you know. It's like whoa.
Well, that's it. That's the thing, you know. Like it's just like and I feel like that's always going to be the thing with any industry. Like it's always like that, you know. Like there's always going to be like a busy time versus a not so busy time. I mean, I think that it's weird because I haven't worked on the business, like Vanquish Media. I haven't worked on the business for over a year now. But like halfway through the year now, like we've already done like more revenue than I did all of last year when I still was kind of working on the business, doing business development. And I mean, I think some of those are like a couple really lucky big projects. But then also like after COVID, like there was definitely people trying to do not just one video, but they were doing like 3 and 4 at a time.
Oh, wow.
And they were just like, they weren't COVID specific videos, but you could see why people's like communications departments were becoming more robust and more digital focused. Or at least, you know, some people had like budget just to shift over from like physical events and they did digital stuff. So yeah, it's been good, man. I mean, yeah, just been working on a bunch of different random stuff. Foreplay's been doing really well. Mainly, we're just like focused on like 3 clients right now, like pretty like working on like with them really closely and like essentially running a whole sector of their business. Like one of our clients, they sell like healthy snacks and stuff, and so we're building like an e-commerce platform. So, but like that's turned into like us pretty much just managing the entire e-commerce, like not just running ads in the store. It's like the whole
running
like,
their e-commerce.
Yeah, like we're like there's nothing like there is no internal division of their business that's e-commerce, and so like everything that's e-commerce like related, like it's pretty much being done by us. And then we have that other client they're a fantasy sports startup. And so they're in beta right now, the second month of their 2-month beta. And they should be launching officially September 5th. Obviously, with like sports back now, they can actually do that. And so with them, it's just been like fucking moving really quick because it was, we don't know if sports are coming back, but then it was like, sports are coming back and like development's back in like full swing. We need to start acquiring users. So yeah, like right now we're doing their email marketing, we're doing their Facebook ads, managing all of like the external marketing web properties. We're doing, like, that's the thing is like for a lot of the clients, we're doing a lot of stuff right now.
I want to know then how you like manage all that, dude. I mean, like that's because it's a lot of different projects and then there's like sub projects within there.
But I mean, in terms of like managing it, man, like I'm not going to, like, I definitely don't have many tips, to be honest. Like I'm not that great at it. Like I would say that I think the biggest thing with me is just like trying to make sure that I don't get burnt out, because I feel like I don't really have like any sort of like, I feel like some people have like things in their head of like, this is how long I want to work a day, and like I don't really have any of that, but I just need to make sure that I'm staying moderately stoked about some stuff that I'm working on. So I feel like the biggest thing is like sprinkling in throughout the day the stuff that I really want to work on and the stuff that I don't, and just like going back and forth between those two things, because I'm not like a tremendously patient person. And so if I like have to do something I don't want to do for too long, like I'm a little bit of a diva about it, and I'm just like, fuck this. So I feel like it's just like managing that like inner like diva, just being, because like for a lot of this stuff, I think, yeah, you have to like own responsibility, you should do what you have to do. But on the counter to that, like, I don't know, like it's just like, I'm just better when I'm working on stuff that I want to work on. So it's just like, why would I spend time and energy being shit when I could be good, and obviously like if you spend too much time and you like put off doing stuff that you need to do, there could be like repercussions and stuff that falls through. But yeah, I don't know, like I think some of that stuff's meant to fall through the cracks, and then really just like I don't know, that's where I really want to get to, is just like working on stuff that makes me excited, because then I don't have like any sort of limitation, and I kind of like know where I can get to if I'm working on stuff that I'm really excited about, and exclusively that, because I've been there before where I was just working on stuff that I really want to do and I wasn't taking on anything that I wasn't. And yeah, so I feel like that's kind of where I'm trying to like get back to, but on like a bigger scale. So I feel like right now it's just kind of like, yeah, eating some shit to get back to the point where I'm just not doing stuff that I don't want to do.
Yeah, I guess part of that's like growing the team, right? And then starting to dish out that work, but like that comes with like scaling. It
comes with scale, and then also like it's not always that simple, like
100%.
Like sometimes what it ends up being is like recently we had a thing where we had a client and we were doing like a pretty extensive animated video for them, and I mean, as much as like I think that the animated video thing, it's obviously like it's propelled my life, I think, in a pretty good way. Like it's definitely not my future. And so, but at the same time, it's like, I'll never put out a shit one. Like, yeah, because, like, it's just like, I don't know. I just can't really do that. And so we brought on like a partner agency to work on this video. And then like halfway through it was just like not going in the right direction. So we had to like pull the plug. And so like, that's an example of where, like you try to delegate something, but then you have to pull the plug on it. You have half the time you would have had if you did it yourself, and now you still got to do it all yourself anyway. And so I think it's that kind of stuff that obviously is like pretty discouraging. And in a lot of ways, like I look back and I'm like, okay, we could have just like went with this like video, and it probably would have been fine. The client probably wouldn't have made any like qualms about it. But then I don't know, I feel like that definitely doesn't take you where you want to go, like those types of decisions. I think, yeah, focusing on like quality and just like doing stuff right is like probably the most important thing. Like I'd rather other stuff doesn't like get done, and then like a few things just get done like the right way.
Oh yeah, 100%. And like a lot of things I think we forget too is like behind the scenes. Like I was just talking to someone at Shopify like last week, and like we forget about this all the time, but like behind the scenes at some of the biggest companies, they're just putting out fires all the time. Like they don't know what the fuck's going on, right? They're doing the same things we're doing, especially with the shift to like work from home. At least you and I have been doing work from home for a while, and we're used to it.
Well, I couldn't imagine if you're like a massive company that had like none of these like work from home things in place, because like business didn't stop really in a lot of industries, but like your employees couldn't, you had to now do workflow and figure out a completely new workflow while adjusting to changing times, like revenue going down. Like I couldn't imagine it being like one of those like massive companies having to try to shift and move through this. And then on the other side of that, like being one of the companies that were like massively affected, or industries that were massively affected by it. yeah, it would just none of it would be fun.
Like imagine like these companies that just like literally could not do work from home. Like a lot of these restaurants, so many small restaurants, there's something like 30% of the smaller restaurants literally just shut down. Like for good. Like,
I couldn't imagine it.
Permanently.
Restaurants were fucking failing when everything was going great. Like, you know, like it was probably like the hardest business to run. And then, yeah, you can't open your doors. Like, yeah, I couldn't imagine it. Yeah.
Screwed, dude. So we'll definitely get into like deeper on the work from home stuff, because I'm sure that's something I think you do excel at, and you do have a lot of like processes, tactics, and a lot of stuff I think like a lot of people from like big companies still don't really know how to handle. Like I remember when you showed me Loom, like this is like so long ago.
I showed you
like,
Loom. I feel like Loom is something that you would have showed me. I guess you.
It's so true. So actually, funny enough, I don't know if you saw today. I didn't even post on Instagram. I posted only on like Twitter. I keep forgetting. I posted a new episode of Meld with this guy from Toronto, actually. And he went from starting an ad agency doing like PPC ads to doing e-commerce now. And now he's like an angel investor in like tech companies and stuff. But he talked about this idea of going from stage 1 business to a stage 2 and then eventually stage 3, whatever you want to call it. But stage 1 is like these agency and service type businesses that have like exceptional margins, and anyone can really start these if you have the skills. And then going into stage 2, which is like e-commerce. And I feel like you did the same thing. Like you did that like really recently. So maybe we could talk about that as well.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think in terms of like my perception of that whole transition right now, it's probably not as optimistic as it was like a couple of months ago, but I don't think that's anything to be saying about that transition not being that. I think that a lot of other things made that transition like very, very hard. And like right now, just like dealing with all of the shit that comes along with that and just like having too much stuff on the go, you know? But I would say like, it's definitely a different transition. I would agree with like him saying that it's like stage 1, stage 2. But I would say that like going from stage 1 to stage 2 is hard, not because of the actual work, but because you end up doing a bunch, like I was saying before, you just end up doing like a bunch of stuff you don't fucking want to do. And I think it's different depending on what kind of role you're in at stage 1. You know, but like at the end of the day, like I think I figured out that I'm a maker more than anything. Like anything that's not making the new boat, and like, you know what I'm saying? Like like once the boat's made, like I really don't care about it anymore. You know, like
let it sail off, let someone else go deal with it. Yeah, 100%.
I've realized like that's just like 100% who I am. Like I'm not, like if I look at like I tried to like make this comparison to someone the other day, and it's just like I feel like you've got like someone like Elon Musk and you have someone like Jeff Bezos. And it's just like, if you were to tell me like right now I could snap my fingers and I could have Jeff Bezos' day-to-day life, I would be like, not in a chance I would want that. Because it's just like, all he's doing is just like making like a few key decisions. And like that would never fulfill me, no matter how much money it made me. Like the only fulfillment I would get would be spending the money, you know, like, yeah. And that's a dangerous road to go down, and cause everyone knows that it's a dead end. So yeah, like, but then you have like Elon Musk, who's like someone who's like really focused on engineering. Right. And I think obviously he has like a great business mind, but he probably does, you know, he probably actually has not the best business mind, right? Like he makes pretty shit business decisions, but he makes pretty good marketing and pretty good like brand decisions, you know?
Yeah.
And he makes like pretty compelling and interesting products. But yeah, like that's where I would put myself, is like I would put like, obviously I'm not Elon Musk, but I'm saying like if you were to compare like two very notable people right now in like the business world, I'm definitely not like Jeff Bezos, and I don't want any part of his day-to-day life. I'd want as little of it as possible. So
honestly, like the money, I mean, even there's studies showing like even after 70,000 or whatever it is of your income after a pretty cushy thing, like it doesn't really matter. Like,
yeah, I think it doesn't. I think when people say that, I think it definitely makes sense for like when you're talking about just like true happiness. But I think when I think about like that calculation in my head, I personally like acquiring just like interesting things. Like it's not about the spending of the money. It's about the acquisition of like something that's different and just like spicing up your life. And I think, yeah, I think there's some people who, if they don't have an expensive taste per se, they would be, I think that calculation of like $70,000 makes a lot more sense. But if you like things like vehicles and like interesting properties and like stuff like that. Even if it doesn't make you happier, it's a hobby, and it's like a way to pass the time of your life, in your life and stuff. So I think I get that calculation, but every time someone says it, I'm like, yeah, but you'd be happier if you had more money. Like
you would be. Yeah. If you, but I mean, whatever it is, at your level, like if it's like 200K, 300K, I don't know, even like a few million, like whatever it is, whatever that is that you find to be like the comfy level. Like you said, the comfiness could be like, I'm more comfortable having like these nice cars or whatever. Yeah. But then also like the world's changing where like, I want to drive a Ferrari. I can go in Turo and fucking get a Ferrari this weekend. Yeah. Man, like the world is changing. Like if you have like a decent amount of money and not that many expenses, and like obviously you're not paying for like diapers for like 10 kids. Then like obviously you can kind of like live life and like where people think you have to be a multi-millionaire. It's like you don't really. You don't. Just go live somewhere else.
Yeah, and like the actual owning of a lot of those things, like they really fucking suck, like no one wants to take their Ferrari to the garage. Like there's no benefit of ownership in that regard, so it's like, yeah, you can get a lot of the benefits I think of ownership through things like Turo and like renting and stuff like that.
But that was another industry that just got fucked by COVID, right?
Yeah.
Like Airbnb's like done, like, well, not done, but like they were ready to go for an IPO this year. They were ready to IPO. They're like, we're going to be billionaires. It's going to be amazing. And it's done. Like, it's just shit the bed.
I mean, I haven't actually looked that much into like Airbnb's like situation with what's happening. So I can't really bad. Like, it's bad.
Dude, yeah. It's bad. Like, because then they had to shift to do like all these virtual experiences, right? So the only way they can make money is they had all these hosts that were at home and they were now doing these virtual experiences. Like, I'll teach you how to make sushi or I'll teach you whatever from home, right?
Okay.
The problem is now, when they did it through an iPhone, through the Apple App Store, Apple wanted to take 30% of that. Before, they would not take any percentage because there was a physical good, right? Or good or service. But because it became a virtual service, Apple threatened to shut down Airbnb and take it off the App Store.
Well, didn't happen. Like right now, there's a lawsuit with is it Twitch or
Fortnite?
No? Fortnite. Yeah, Fortnite. Yeah. There's like a lawsuit, right? And it's like looks like they baited Apple into a lawsuit. And I mean, I couldn't imagine Apple losing that lawsuit. Like, one, like I get why people have like a vendetta against this, like that, but at the same time, it's just like, it's not like it was malicious. Like that's what it's been like since day one. Like it's, you know what I'm saying? It's not like it was free and then they just decided to implement this thing. It's just like, well, no, this whole thing was built on this 30% margin type of thing since day one. So it's like, you can complain about it, but you really can't, like there's been plenty of people that have been turned into like multi billionaires from the App Store. And so like if they could do it, then with that 30%, marketplace fee, then so can you. I mean, like I said, I can imagine someone who is more, maybe they like free markets a little bit more or something, where
that's like exactly what it is. It's like I've listened to a few podcasts with the CEO Tim Sweeney, and that's exactly what it is. They're just advocating for sort of like these free marketplaces because they created their own marketplace on, I think, Mac and Windows, so the Epic Game Store. You can go buy games, any game from the Epic Game Store, just like Steam or the App Store. But the problem is, well, not the problem. What they opened up was, if you want to use a third-party payment platform for your in-app purchases, go ahead, do whatever you want. Because I think what they really want is they're advocating for like you said, free markets, but in this idea of the metaverse, right? It's just like, if we're all locked in Apple's world here, then they own the metaverse, and that's kind of dangerous too.
It is dangerous, but at the same time, it's just like there is no better app marketplace than the App Store. Like, no, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, I think some of these like large founders that are outside of the Apple sphere, they look at like power users and like very internet-y type people as like, that's what we should be building products around. But I think Apple, even though I am like on that, I think more in that techie world, like they build products for just human beings at like a very even keeled level, which keep it tremendously safe. Like, I think that's honest. Like the fact that I can go to the App Store and like, I'm pretty certain that like, I'm more certain that I'll not get a virus from the App Store than I am that I'm not going to walk out on the street and get hit by a car. Like the fact that there's that level of just like security, there has limitations to it. But at the same time, it's just like, well, that's really nice. Like that is a nice luxury. And I mean, it's not like they don't do anything with the money. Like I think like the App Store gets better and better. They're building their own processors. So it's like, yes, in a way they're building it even more enclosed, right? But like
they are.
It's become like there's no more fucking powerful thing than the iPad Pro, then there's a reason for it. It's because they're able to build it in this like perfect utopia where there isn't too much hacking and like
software, the hardware meets perfectly. Totally. I totally agree. And sure, it's gonna be more and more closed. Like, I don't know. It's kind of weird. Like, I couldn't imagine I know it's going to happen, like my MacBook becoming more like the iPad, like very, very close. Like, there's not much you can do. But then again, I always say that there's something for everyone in this world. If you don't care, you just want your thing to work, you're going to get a MacBook. You're going to get an iPad Pro. If you want to hack, go build a PC. You can use Windows. It's the most open platform. Get an Android. Like, you can still use those things. No one's telling you can't. It's not like they don't exist. You have the choice.
Right. It's because people want the good, but they don't want the bad that comes with it. You know, like people are like, I want Apple as like so bad, but like you don't want like the price tag or like the very closed off whatever like that comes along with it. So.
But I was thinking about that the other day. Like, I've had an Android for the last 5 years. Not that I love Android. I just had an Android because, you know, with VR, I had to have a Samsung phone for the Gear VR. But now I'm ready to switch. I'm getting a new phone. And I'm like, well, no brainer. I'm going to get a fucking iPhone 12. Like, I've seen all the leaks. I've seen the design of it. Has a LiDAR scanner. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, it's going to be a little bit more expensive. It'll be like maybe 1,500 Canadian dollars. But I'm like, this is something that I use every fucking day of my life.
People that try to make that thing with me of like stuff costs too much money, like when it's like, I can imagine if it doesn't bring any value to your life and you work at like Tim Hortons or something, like maybe you could get away with like an iPhone 3GS or something. But like if you divide the amount of hours or like the amount of days by the price of the fucking phone, it is the cheapest thing in your life probably. Like, there's probably nothing that's cheaper than like that device. Maybe your bed. Like, that would be the only thing, you know, is like that would be cheaper of like a divisible of like how many hours a day you use it. Like, your fucking phone can save you from being lost. Like, it can, you know, it connects you like to other sides of the world. Like, it's like, the value is still, I think, so it's very outweighing like any sort of price tag people can put on these things. I mean, when if you can say it's relative towards like other phones that can do the exact same thing that are cheaper, but I don't know. I'm down to spend more money on things and have them keep getting better. And I've never regretted an iPhone upgrade. That's for sure. Never.
Do you get a new one every year? Like when the new ones come out?
I would say like I'm probably in like the 1.5 to 2 year cycle range. I feel like when I was like early 20s or even like in my teens, you almost like always like dreamed of the day where like when a new iPhone would come out and you just get it. And I would like watch all these things. But I feel like I've almost like grown up enough now where I'm just like, like I can like wait, you know, like I remember hearing like my dad like, I'll just wait for the next one. And like, I'd be like, what the fuck? Why wouldn't you just go buy it? Like this would be great. But now I feel like I'm just, I'm about a 1 year to 2 year life cycle on a phone now.
Yeah. Like every other one.
Yeah.
Because like they're pretty similar between upgrades, but I feel like this next upgrade to the 12 seems pretty, and again, has that whole design aesthetic as well. It looks like it's going to look like the iPad Pro, which is like what I've been waiting for. I haven't had an iPhone since iPhone 5S, which had that same design.
Oh, damn.
As soon as it went curved, I was like, I don't really want it.
I love squared off. I mean, I just bought the new iPad Pro. It's fucking great. It is such a good product because I had the previous iPad Pro, the smaller one with like the old Apple Pencil. And I just got the new iPad Pro with the new Apple Pencil. It's just like, okay, they fixed almost everything I didn't like about it. I also got the larger one. Like the fact that the pen like sticks to the side. Like I always was losing that pen or I didn't have anywhere to go or it'd roll off my desk. And like, they just fixed so many things. And that's where it's just like, like Apple, you're like, as bad as you are in a lot of ways, like you guys are fucking great. Like I don't want to buy, you know, like if it was like a PC tablet or something, I don't want to buy have to buy a pen from like another company that has a better one. And then it, you know, like it's just like, these are great products. They all work together well, but something that I have incorporated, which I never thought I would, like over the last week, is upgrading like my mouse to be like more of like a gaming style mouse. And so I got like the Logitech MX Master 3 or something. It was like what
sick.
Everyone was like saying is like a great mouse. And my friend had it and I was like, okay, this is cool. And had a lot of engineering things I liked about it. Anyway, so changing over from like, I've been using a Apple Magic Mouse. Using an Apple Magic Mouse for 8 years. Like I've made everything I've ever made on an Apple Magic Mouse. Like I've never used another mouse. Even before that, when I was like learning in high school, we had like the old wired Apple mouses that were like not the Magic Mouse, but like anyway. So,
I know the ones. Yeah.
Yeah, the ones like light
with
up
the
and
little
they're
ball
red
on
and the
it,
ball
right?
on it. Yeah, those were shit. Those were so bad.
The worst.
But like this thing has been fucking great. Like the fact that you can like go from like I can connect it to two computers and move between. So if I have like my laptop on my desk, I can use it on my iMac and then move it over to my laptop, which is a completely different device.
Does it have a USB Bluetooth thingy, or is it just like wireless completely?
It has both.
So that's how you can do both, because otherwise wouldn't you need two like little USB chip thingies?
You would, but so like they give you a USB chip thing, and I think that to do like unifying with like a keyboard and a mouse, I think you need the chip or something. I haven't figured it out, but so like I've had the mouse for about like a week and a half, 2 weeks, and then today actually came in like the matching keyboards. I got this like, it's called like the Logitech Craft or something. And it's got this like knob on it. And so you can map everything to be different stuff in different applications. And so like the mouse, I've got like certain buttons for like changing between tabs on Chrome. And then, it has, like it's just, it gives me like a lot more control, like a lot more cockpit buttons. And if you're working in things like Photoshop and Illustrator a lot, it's just like getting these extra tactile points, I feel like have been a massive upgrade. And like during quarantine, when I was like not working a lot more, I think I was spending more time at my desk and not getting out as much and walking. I developed this like really bad like pain in my shoulder, like right here. And it was just like my anterior delts just like become like, they were just like, it was just one of those things where you move your arm and like, fuck, that hurt. And I felt you're pulling it over and over and over again. And then so I was like stretching it, and then it would come back for a week, and then I'd get rid of it, come back for a week. And then I got this mouse, and then I used it for a day. And at the time I got the mouse, I didn't have any shoulder pain. And then at the end of the first day, when I had finally gotten used to the mouse, which I'm surprised it only took like a full day of work, I went back to the Magic Mouse, and just putting my hand on it, I was just like, holy crap, this is like, I'm like this. And I realized that like my hand was turned more like this, whereas like the bigger, like this mouse, your hand's more like vertical. And so what I realized is like that actually translates. I can literally feel it in my shoulder how much I have to like turn my hand over. That makes a difference. And so I've come to the conclusion that changing over this mouse, like that pressure on my shoulder is completely gone, which was like a direct correlation in my life. So yeah, now I got to carry this fucking massive thing around with me. It made me really think about how much more I could start taking things like desk ergonomics like a little bit more seriously, because something as simple as a mouse, like I think has already had like a direct correlation in like more productivity on the computer. And then also, this, like, it's just more comfortable. And like, I would like, it's more relaxed. Like the Magic Mouse, you're like always, I liked how simple and beautiful it looked, but
aesthetically,
it's an absolutely like beautiful device, but it doesn't fit your hand. Like it's too small.
No, like, look, I look too much like space.
There's too much space. Whereas like this is like supported. Like this is like a good running shoe. Yeah.
It's so true. You gelling, I'm gelling.
That's my tech thing lately is getting a little bit away from the Apple ecosystem, sacrificing some design for some functionality and utility. I mean, these still look nice, but they're not minimal.
But it's also at home. It's meant for the office. Like if you're going to go out, you're going to be on your laptop anyways, and you're going to use just the trackpad probably.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, you're not going out. Like you used to work from coffee shops quite a bit, but obviously that's going to change, right?
Yeah. I mean, I used to do emails at coffee shops. I don't like, the one thing I can't stand is like messaging. Like I just hate messaging back and forth with people. Like it just drives me insane. Because again, it's just like the kind of work that I do. It's just like, I don't know. I think everybody can appreciate deep work, but like if you're working on like a creative project, like if you just get distracted, like there's so much momentum just gets tossed out the window. Yeah, and you can't just regain it sometimes, and you're like, well, fuck, like that message could have waited, because I can always reply to that message, but I can't always get back flow and like just good ideas. Like ideas are so delicate, like so delicate, because they come out of fucking nowhere. So it's like the moment that something else takes that away, it's like you can't get it back, because it's never going to be that idea. Like you might get another one. Like I'm not going to say you never, and you might get an idea that's better, but you're not going to get that one.
Yeah, dude, what do you use to capture your ideas?
There's different kinds of ideas. So like when I was saying that, I was envisioning things like working on visual projects. So like if I was working on like an animation or something like that, like a way of transitioning one scene to the next. And a lot of that also, you don't just get the full idea. You get 10% of what it's going to be at the end, and then you have to like massage it into working. And by the time you get to the end, it's not actually the idea you had. It's something completely different, but you would have never got there unless you had like the first idea. So like those types of ideas, which I think are like rabbit holes of exploration and moving things over a couple pixels and changing how fast something animates, or changing a layout on a web page or something. And then I think that there's like large ideas and like concepts. And I don't get those while I'm working minutely. I think large ideas I get honestly through talking out loud in moderately sized like groups. Like I think one thing that I get like a decent amount of good ideas from is like almost like brainstorming sessions with clients, where they're just saying stuff to me, and then I'm just like, oh, like, and I feel like dots connect to my head pretty quickly.
Input. It's like
input, and then it'll just like spit something out. Whereas like if I just sit down in front of a problem, I'm not very good at that. And just like, I can't like sit down in front of like a notebook and like come up with ideas. It's more like, like it's the same thing as like working. I think it's just like you catch it in stride. And it's like, I think it's a lot of like almost like that book. I don't know if you've ever read it, like War of Art, Not the Art of War.
Yes, Stephen Pressfield.
I was going to say Stephen Pinker. Stephen Pressfield. Like his whole thing is, right, like it's like you have to prime the pump, and like like the universe doesn't reward thinking and contemplation. It rewards like just sitting down, and like in his case, he talks about writing, and so it's the same thing. It's just like, you're not going to come up with a great web design by like contemplating and looking at the sky. Like you just have to start making the layout, and then you go through 4 more, and then you're at where you want it to be. And I think, for me, it's like, I think that's the way I do all of my ideas that way. And running.
Yeah, and running for sure. Shower thoughts, running thoughts, walking thoughts, getting the blood flowing. But dude, that's actually it's so true, because you have to think about like what type of work you're doing. Because you're not doing writing, you're not so much like the copywriter, you're not writing essays, you're not writing books. Like you're doing design work. So like, how has the iPad Pro changed the game for you in that, like capturing ideas? Like, because I know you can just go put pen to iPad real quick without unlocking, right, and start writing notes.
It's actually interesting. So honestly, like, I got it. And I think it's one of those things where there's so many tools now where I don't even know where to start. So like I finally like sprung and spent the $13 on Procreate, and I was playing with it the other day, and I'm just like, there's so much here. And I just didn't even know where to like start. It was almost like I wasn't
within one app.
Yeah.
In one app, there's so much.
Yeah. It was almost like I wasn't creative enough. Like it was like, it's almost like I'm not even, it's like I would have to subtract to then create, because like I'm assuming like if someone was an amazing painter, they'd be able to look at that tool chest and be able to take full utilization of it and not get distracted by shiny objects. And they'd be going to like one end goal in their head. But it's like, I think that for me, like I said, like I can't envision that very much. I have to very much just like I'm not a good designer. I just play with things until they're good. And like, I don't finish things until they're decent. You know what I'm saying? Like I just keep going. Like that's it.
Chiseling away at the rock.
Yeah. Whereas I think there's other people that can really envision like a final piece, and they could probably pitch it really well. But yeah, like I don't know what my design pitch would be. It would be like, I'll play with.
Maybe not. Maybe it still takes like iterations behind the scenes.
I'm sure it takes iterations. I'm sure it takes iterations. But yeah, in terms of going back to your question about like the iPad Pro, I've only had it for like a week. I probably only put around 5 or 6 hours in on it so far. But I mean, it's a lot like the previous iPad. It's like one of those things where you get the new thing and you're like, I want to use it more. Getting back down to like the design of the product, like the bezel-less thing is really nice. I use it more with the pen because the pen's always with it, whereas the other time it wasn't always with it. And it's one of those things where I feel like a kid getting a new thing again, where it's just like I want to play with it and I want to make something new. Like seeing like the AR capabilities, I was just like, all right, well, how can I make like a little AR project and do something nifty? So I've been like thinking about that lately. It's just like maybe come up with some sort of little AR project. I feel like I miss tinkering with Adobe product. Like not that this would be an Adobe product, but I remember when I finally got Creative Cloud, and like you had every product where you didn't have to like download it and hack it and like steal it. And it was just like, you just played with all of them and watched all the tutorials, and you just like obsessed over all like the possibility. I feel like the iPad Pro is kind of doing that for me now with like the AR and stuff like that. I'm definitely wishing I had as much time as I did back in university and high school. But yeah, it's one of those little things where it's like there's more here than I can utilize, and that's exciting.
Yeah, dude, I think it's so important to like schedule playtime. Like I did that because like with VR, even I'm like, okay, like I'm working in it, I'm doing this stuff, but I'm like, I'm gonna schedule like this hour to play, learn something new. Lately for me, it's like exactly what you said with Procreate. I'm trying to learn Unreal Engine to make virtual production. I don't know if we talked about it in depth, but
well, you showed me a video on virtual production, and it blew my mind, like how much they're doing with like.
And it works with Mac, dude. Like Unreal, and now you can pair your iPad, any iPad, pair it wirelessly to Unreal Engine and use that as a virtual camera with your 3D scene, and that's going to revolutionize film animation with 3D animation. Dude, that is the next level of just production in general. But I think it's like, you got to schedule time to play with that. So I've been doing that lately. I'm like, at least an hour a day. I'm like, I just want to get into Unreal. Because Unreal, even people who fucking work at Epic Games, they're like, yeah, there's no way any one person can master it all. Although I think there's one person, maybe Matt Workman. I'm sure he still hasn't mastered everything, but I want to get him on the podcast. 'Cause I think you would he'd blow your mind.
Is this the guy that you sent me the article when he was like shooting like a motorcycle commercial or something?
Yes.
That guy? Okay.
So he does it all himself. He does the 3D modeling himself, all the programming, like literally every piece of it. Like it's just one dude, one fucking guy doing this whole app, which usually it'd be a whole team doing this whole thing.
Right. That's so cool. I like that, man. I've got a soft place and soft spot in my heart for like a modern polymath. Like, like I feel like it's a cool pursuit. It's definitely not the most profitable or the most efficient, but I think it's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, dude. I think we both share a little bit about that because we both do a lot. We have a lot of different disciplines, a lot of different projects. I don't know if it's completely polymath. Maybe it is. Maybe
I mean, that's definitely a stretching of the word. I would say that like if you look back at like the traditional, like I mean, it's kind of interesting because if you were to go back and you were to say like, okay, who are like some legitimate polymaths, like we could do more than they could, like in terms of like actual production, you know what I'm saying? Like even if we're not completely considered like, or at least that dynamic, we can like, given the technology we have today, we can still produce more. Like we could make more than they could ever dream of or even conceive of. So I think, it's definitely going to be a ever, I don't hear anybody usually use that word anymore. People usually don't say it. Polymath.
Polymath?
Yeah.
100%.
No.
I've only seen like maybe two people, and there's one guy on Twitter, one guy on, I think, TikTok randomly.
Okay.
I started following them. Dude, TikTok has been awesome because I finally got the algorithm to show me relevant shit, not just funny stuff, not just random shit. But like every time I open that app up, I learn something new that's like immediately applicable to what I'm working on.
Wow, that's really cool.
The algorithm is insanely good, like ridiculously good.
Have you been
better than anything I've ever seen?
Have you been posting on anything? Are you posting anything on TikTok?
I've never posted on TikTok. I want to post podcasts, I think. Like maybe like the video recording and then like maybe like the text. We talked about this before. Maybe doing like short tutorials.
Yeah.
And we're both tool guys and might do like 5 tools you need as an entrepreneur. Like, but I don't know. It feels hacky to me. I don't know.
That's the thing. It's like I have such a desire for like YouTube and like content to go back like 5 years. And I know that's never going to happen. But like when there was like a little bit more like time put into some stuff, YouTube production is actually a really impressive state right now. I would say like the distilling down of like it'd be so nice. And I know it's not going to happen because I don't even consume this type of content on Instagram, but like something that has like a little bit more pace to it, where it's not like what you just said, like 5 things that you need, blah, blah, blah. Like it'd be nice if like the world approached content with like a little bit more taste.
Dude, that's why I like James Janney. I showed you one of his videos.
Yeah,
he has a new one on MLM.
I saw that. I was going to watch that tonight. That's crazy you said that.
I'm going to watch that tonight too. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's like a documentary, right? It's like a Netflix Vox type of thing. And it's good shit.
Yeah. But going back to the short tutorial type things, I love those short tutorials. So short tutorials are so cool because it's a lot of those tutorials are not something I would ever click on a YouTube video for because I'm like, this isn't that big of a deal. But like just knowing those little hacks and stuff like that, like I find that like it's interesting working with people that maybe have only been like professionally working on computers as their main thing. Because people like go to like school and stuff, and I don't think people are trying to be the most efficient people in school unless they're nerdy like you and I were. But like just seeing some people, like who aren't as technologically proficient with just like things like shortcuts and like knowing that you can force quit all applications and like knowing that, you know, in the dock at the bottom of your Mac, you should definitely have your downloads folder and your desktop folder down there because it just
doesn't come stock. Yeah.
And it's just like just those little like setup things that you're watching someone over their shoulder work on their computer and they download something and they have to go try to find their downloads folder. And it's just like, oh, so you do this every day. It's like,
you're losing like days of your life.
Days. And like so much just like extra stress. And it makes me think like, who's looking over my shoulder and being like, look at this plug. Like what does he not know? I feel like that with this mouse thing. I'm like,
right.
I now have like 15 more buttons that I never had before that I used to have to go and like press a shortcut or like go up to a menu to do, or like the amount of times that I've been in Chrome with too many tabs and I've been trying to find a tab and I like accidentally exit out the one that, you know, you're looking for. And it's like, well, now I just have this toggle switch on the side that lets me just toggle through all of the tabs, you know, like it's just like, okay, if I just found this out after 10 years pretty much of working 8 hours a day on a computer, it's just like, well, what's going to come in the next 8 years? And like, I think it's just why you always need to like not get super set in your ways and just like try new things. And who knows what work's going to be like in like 5 years. It's honestly kind of scary.
In VR, working in VR and AR for sure.
Yeah.
I think that'll be it. So, I mean, like, dude, we've done a little VR trips together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we did a little like, sort of like the futurist version of going to your buddy's house. We went in big screen. We're watching sort of like YouTube videos and stuff, and we're hanging out in VR. I feel like we just like that was fun and that was awesome. But I feel like there isn't like a trigger for us to keep doing it. We talked about it before. It's like, what would get us to go in there every day? I think it would be work. You're like, hey, we're working at a company every day, 10 a.m. We're doing our meeting in VR. Like, you know, you have a trigger and then you build a habit and you keep doing it. But I feel like when it's like loosey goosey as like friends, I don't know. Like it's kind of weird, you know? Unless we're like every Friday night we're going in VR,
which I don't think that's good either. You know,
no,
like,
exactly.
Yeah, you know what? Like I think because to be like I haven't went in VR for probably like a couple of months now, like at least 2 months. Actually, I think I had someone over like maybe like 2 weeks ago, and they tried it, but I didn't go in. And I've been thinking about this since we like talked about it, and I was just like, yeah, like what's that trigger? Like what? Because there is a barrier right now. Like there is some sort of like, it's not physical, right? It's not a physical barrier, but there is like a mental barrier of like getting into VR.
You have Quest, which is the easiest one to get into.
It's the fucking, yeah, it's such a good product. Like such a good product.
Like I think Apple iPhone level product for sure.
Almost there. It's like built. It's getting there. Like it's not made out of aluminum. That's the only thing. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, like yeah, I think it's a good product. Actually, you know what? The one thing I hated about it was just like how dependent it was on like a Facebook profile, because then like I ran into this thing where it was like Shane had one, but his dad logged into it on his Facebook, but then to like log onto another Facebook profile, he had to somehow get into his dad's and disable it. And like all of those just like you're getting in the fucking way type things. Yeah. And like Facebook isn't great, I don't think, at the connection. Like, yes, they have all of these different, like these products and they have this massive suite and they have a lot of data, but they are horrific at connecting those things. Like even like from like a business point of view, like getting like an Instagram catalog to populate on Facebook for ads and like tagging thing across channel, and like your Instagram profile is connected to your Facebook, but for some reason you have a different login, and like it's so off. And like now they have Oculus, but it's like it's connected to Facebook, but like they need a level above Facebook, Instagram, and Oculus that connects all those things seamlessly, and you don't get into these fucking loops of like verification codes and like all that shit, which like Apple's got that fucking down seamlessly.
Oh, with iCloud? Oh yeah, it's fucking dope.
Yeah, I wish iCloud was a better drive system.
Same, I would pay for it, especially for backing up stuff, backing up your images. 100% I would pay for it.
Yeah, I would pay for it. It's just hard to access. But I was actually pleasantly surprised on the iPad with the new file system, because I hadn't ever. It's good, and I was just like, because that was always the thing with an iPad. It's like, where do I put my PDF? And now they've got this new system. I'm like, okay, you're good. You guys figured it out. It took you long enough. Like Steve needed to die for this, right? Like to actually get to this point. Like to be honest, to have like a file management system on the iPad, but like. yeah, that was a nice surprise. It's just like, oh, I know where to put my files now.
And Dropbox is in there. But I heard iCloud is actually just a rebranded version of Google Drive, white labeled Google Drive.
No way.
I'm going to look into it more. I think it might be. That's what I've heard last. They could have bought their own servers, but I heard it was Google. But anyways, go back to the Facebook thing, dude. I think Facebook's trying to do that. You've seen it now when you open up like Messenger or WhatsApp, it says Facebook all in like uppercase. So now they have a parent company called Facebook, which is like uppercase Facebook, which owns lowercase Facebook as the app, which owns all these other apps. But I heard because of all this antitrust shit that's going on, they're not going to be able to do it. They're not going to be able to fully merge Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, and Facebook, because then they would literally have a monopoly, and that's literally illegal. Like, and that also wouldn't be good. Like, people are afraid of that kind of shit, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's like, well, now we're just using a shitty version of it. Because, you know, so it's just like, and like, the thing that drives me insane about Facebook too is like, I don't know who the fuck's on their design team, but like, let's make all these products work together from like a design perspective too. Like the fact that like they're like, I don't know if you got the new Facebook update, but now it looks like you're always on a phone, even when you're on web. It's almost like they don't even want you on web anymore. And then they've introduced all these very gamified type icons, but it's like Instagram is still very clean and like sleek. It's just like, let's do a big UI overhaul and like let's piss off some boomers, let's confuse some kids, and let's land right in the middle, and like let's just make stuff that like fucking looks good together. Because the fact that I'm on Instagram and it's like, do you want to post this to your Facebook story? Like, that feels so gross. Like, that feels like such a third party integration. It's like, doesn't even feel like they're the same company, and that makes no sense. And there shouldn't be Facebook stories.
Isn't right, and they shouldn't be technically.
Right. But but there also shouldn't. There's no way that in a proper world, Facebook stories and Instagram stories shouldn't be separate fucking things.
Should just be stories,
because there's one central source, and it's you as a fucking person. You know, like why would it exist in two different narrative timelines? And like why? That makes no sense. You know, and like both of them are personal social platforms, and so the only differentiation that there would ever be for a separate timeline would be if one was like LinkedIn and one was like Facebook, where it's like professional and then personal. But you've got two personal, different daily timeline narrative, vertical story video platforms. And it's just like,
it's very weird. Yeah.
That's dumb.
So strange. It's totally is. I totally agree. And then LinkedIn's its own thing. When's the last time you've been on LinkedIn?
You know, I used to spend so much time on LinkedIn, like back when like I was like trying to like just get clients and stuff like that. I would just like connection request. But I haven't been on LinkedIn that much. There's not much valuable content on LinkedIn. Yeah, maybe my like LinkedIn feed is just like horrible because I just randomly connect with people for 2 years straight.
That's probably what it was. I probably just screwed you over in the long run.
Yeah, I probably need to start.
You should have created a second one, or start from scratch now.
Yeah. I'll get a new name and
yeah. There's the hack. Start from scratch with LinkedIn, especially. I've been getting some decent stuff on LinkedIn. Like there's a lot of good stuff. Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure there would be
powerful algorithm too. If you post stuff, like it gets pushed out.
That's what I've heard
way
for
better
a
than
while.
Like a Facebook. Yeah.
Well, yeah, full Facebook, you post something and it goes off into the abyss.
But dude, Twitter is where it's at these days. Like Twitter is where all the investments are going through. No one's doing that through LinkedIn. Any like tech investment, angel investing, all of the big shit's happening on Twitter, man. Everyone is on fucking Twitter.
And so so I haven't been on Twitter for probably a year. That was one of the ones that I deleted it from my phone when I went through like a social media purge, and I never decided to download it back.
Never made it back. Damn.
I mean, I could imagine that it would be good. Like the idea of it is just like, very bite-sized thoughts.
But people do these long ass threads where like, you're like, holy shit, I just read a whole blog post basically.
Yeah. And then, so that's where I'm just like, that's where it gets weird for me, where it's just like people that are hacking the medium too much. And it's just like, I don't want you to debate politics on Twitter. I want you to give me bite-sized thoughts that are concise, and let's leave the thoughts that are too complex for Twitter off Twitter. Like that's what, for me, it's like, that's what ruins the fucking platform. Like that's why I started to hate it, because I would get down these fucking like rabbit holes about like Trump, and it was just like these people replying to themselves. And it's like, okay, if you have to continue to reply to yourself, and the only validity of your argument is that you have followers on this platform, which is why you're writing it. It's like, well, should you be writing it here? And is it actually that valid? Because if it's that valid, it's like, okay, go write it in a Medium article. And if it's really that good, it's going to get traction. Yeah, trying to put too big of ideas into something like Twitter, it's like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like, I want to know contextual, bite-sized pieces of information of your opinion. Like, I don't need links to like facts and stuff like that. And like, that's where I think it breaks, and that's where I think people should divert to something like Medium.
And now it's like Substack too. Like people have been doing Substack where they just like subscribe directly to some. Have you heard of Substack?
No, what's that?
It's kind of like sort of like Medium meets weekly newsletters or daily newsletters, but basically it's like a subscription platform. So people, you can either make it free or paid. People like type in their email, they put in their credit card information, and they subscribe to your newsletter, and you'll send it directly to their inbox, so they don't have to go to Medium or whatever. They'll get it in their email.
Okay, so this is something. It's like letting people make their own morning brew.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. Do you subscribe to any like great newsletters?
I've got a pretty high attrition rate on newsletters. Like I'll really like them for like a couple of weeks, and then they'll get gassed, and I'll put them in the unsubscribe box. But the ones that have stuck, I don't have it anymore, but Morning Brew stuck for about a year. And then I was just like, this knowledge isn't actually contextual to my life. I don't need this. And like, I was just, and
just clogging up space.
It was clogging up space, and then I would always leave them unread because I'd be like, oh, I don't want to let that information go. And then I'd like try to read through 7 of them in one. Sorry, I'm gonna call. I would try to read like 7 of them in like a day, but then I would just skim through them because I was trying to get through them. Okay, this is passed on to this. This is now a chore and not enjoyable. But the one that's definitely stuck is like Tim Ferriss's 5 Bullet Friday. That hits my inbox at the perfect time. Like, you know, when you get that Friday 3 o'clock kind of slump, and like, yeah, just a little bit of Tim Ferriss.
That's so smart. That's really good. Yeah,
that's the only one that's stuck long term. One thing I've seen interesting that's like, I've seen it through 2 kind of direct to consumer type ad agency products. They've done like mini courses via email. And so it's like, it's not a newsletter.
Drip ones. Yeah.
It's like our 7-day mini course on this. Those have been great.
So that concludes part 1 of this podcast with Zach. For part 2, go to the link in the description of this podcast, or go directly to my website at joshgonzalez.com/podcast, and you can get right into part 2. If you enjoyed this episode and you are not already subscribing, what are you doing? Subscribe to this podcast so you can get all of the latest episodes directly on your phone, get notified for it, and we can stay in touch. So if you enjoyed this episode and you want to go deeper, go check out part 2. I'll see you in the next one.